and welcome to Turn the Page. I am Digital Ben. I run the Digital Den here at the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library main branch. And today I'm going to be bringing you the young adult book Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. This is like classic Brandon Sanderson in that it is just like non-stop action. I mean, the action that he writes in this is pretty visually appealing, and you can just really picture it in your mind really well. But it doesn't have a lot of the intense world building that some of his other books does. So if you're looking for something that is super action packed and like a kind of a light read, Steelheart is great for you, and it's a part of a series, a 3-part series. So I hope you like it. I'm going to start on page 4. He strode to the center of the room, sunglasses hung from his breast pocket, and he smiled as he put them on. He then raised a finger and pointed with a casual tapping motion at a passing woman. She vaporized to dust, clothing burned away, skeleton falling forward and clattering to the floor. Her earrings and wedding ring didn't dissolve, though. They hit the floor with distinct pings I could hear over the noise in the room. The room fell still. She froze, horrified, or people froze, horrified. Conversation stopped, though the mortgage man kept right on rambling, lecturing my father, but then he finally choked off as the screaming began. I don't remember how I felt. Isn't that odd? I can remember the lighting, those magnificent chandeliers up above, sprinkling the room with bits of refracted light. I can remember the lemon ammonia scent of the recently cleaned floor. I can remember all too well the piercing shouts of terror, the mad cacophony of people scrambling for doors. Most clearly, I remember the epic smiling, broadly, almost leering, as he pointed at passing people, reducing them to ash and bones with a mere gesture. I was transfixed. Perhaps I was in shock. I clung to the back of my chair, watching the slaughter with wide eyes. Some people near the doors escaped. Anyone who got too close to the epic died. Several employees and customers huddled together on the ground and hid behind desks. Strangely, the room grew still. The epic stood as if I were alone, or as if he were alone. Bits of paper floating down through the air, bones and black ash scattered on the floor about him. "I am called Death Point," he said. "It's not the cleverest of names, I'll admit, but I find it memorable." His voice was eerily conversational, as if he were chatting with friends over drinks. He began to stroll through the room. A thought occurred to me this morning," he said. The room was large enough that his voice echoed. "I was showering, and it struck me." It asked, "Death Point, why are you going to rob a bank today?" He pointed lazily at a pair of security guards who had edged around the side of the hallway just beside the mortgage cubicles. The guards turned to dust, their badges, belt buckles, guns, and bones hitting the floor. I could hear the bones knocking against one another as they dropped. There are a lot of bones in a man's body, much more than I realized, and they make a big mess when they are scattered. An odd detail to notice in such a horrid scene, but I remember it distinctly. A hand clasped on my shoulder. My father had crouched low before his chair and was trying to pull me down, to keep the epic from seeing me. But I wouldn't move, and my father couldn't force me without making a scene. "I've been planning this for weeks, you see," the epic said. "But the thought only struck me this morning. Why? Why rob the bank? I can take anything I want anyway. It's ridiculous." He leaped around the side of the counter, causing the teller cowering there to scream. I could just barely make her out, huddled on the floor. "Money is worthless to me, you see," the epic said. "Completely worthless." He pointed. The woman shriveled to ash and bone. The epic pivoted, pointing at several places around the room, killing people who were trying to flee. Last of all, he pointed directly at me. That's the beginning of Steelheart. I hope that this was enough for you to come in, check this book out, and turn the page.